Det är torsdag den 24 februari och ni tittar på Trading Direkt IPO med mig Adam Wahlfeldt. Den 24 mars är det dags för guldprospekteringsbolaget Northgolds att noteras på First North. Och idag har jag med mig vd Mitch Vanderydt som har kommit här till studion. A warm welcome, Mitch.
Thank you, Adam. Good to be here.
As I understand it, you just arrived a couple of weeks ago from Canada, Toronto. Can you tell me a bit about your background?
I grew up in Canada, in Ottawa, and been in Toronto for the past 10 years. Been working in the mining sector for 13 years. 3 years at an investment bank and 10 years as an engineer before that. Sweden isn't so different from Canada. It's actually been warmer here. I think it was 15 below when I left Toronto, and it's been quite mild here. And culture is similar. I'm enjoying it.
Perfect. And then we start from the top about the company Northgolds. What do you do and what type of company are you?
Yeah, before I get into it, I'll caution the viewers, I will be making some forward-looking statements, which is typical for exploration companies. So I would point viewers towards our disclaimer on our website and in our press releases. And Northgolds is a gold exploration company. We're currently focused and will be focused on for the next 12 to 18 months on early to advanced stage gold exploration, including core drilling. We hold 2 projects in the Middle Österbottnia gold belt of central Finland, about 50 kilometers apart. We hope to begin drilling there this coming May. Northgolds also provides investors with exposure to the rising gold price, of course, which I think is up nearly $50 an ounce today to nearly $19.50 an ounce. As a result of the unfortunate situation in Ukraine, but also before that, rising inflation and uncertain global equity markets. We're setting out to grow our gold equivalent resources to 1 million ounces from the current 725,000 ounces of gold equivalent where they sit now. And when I say gold equivalent, it's predominantly gold, but there's also a little bit of copper, which is associated with the gold mineralization in the rocks of our region.
Yeah. So you've chosen to go public now, and it's bit, as you mentioned, it's been a bit volatile in the markets and so on, and not least today's events in Ukraine. How will this affect you going forward on the IPO? Do you see any consequences or potential consequences?
Yeah, good question. Of course, that can be good and bad for us. The gold price is up, but the overall equity markets are a little bit uncertain. Perhaps they offset each other, but the gold price is strong, and we expect it to remain strong. There was news out yesterday that Chinese gold consumption was up 56% year over year, and it's expected demand for gold in China is expected to remain strong in 2022, despite potentially slowing economic growth. We're bullish on the gold price, and we think our projects provide an excellent lever for that.
And you're an exploration company, meaning no revenues. So from an investor perspective, the team behind it is, of course, very interesting. You told us a bit about yourself. What type of people are behind this? And
the team, the founding shareholders behind Northgolds is founded by 2 solid groups. Number 1 is Magnus Minerals Oy. It's a Finnish geologic consultant and project generator. They've been involved with numerous joint ventures in Finland, including with major mining companies. And the other major founding shareholder group is Starboard Global Limited, and they're a mining private equity group, international group that's been involved with numerous successful listings, including Battery Minerals AB, which is also listed in Sweden and also holds projects in Finland. In terms of the management team, we have quite a lean team. There's myself as the CEO, and we have a CFO under a consulting arrangement. As I mentioned, I have sort of a diverse mining background, so I tend to wear a lot of hats. And maintaining a lean team and relying on consultants to the extent we can helps us put the majority of our money in the ground as drilling. which is the best way to get share price appreciation for an exploration company.
Yeah. Now, before or in conjunction with the listing, you're doing a rights issue as well. I think it's about roughly 40 million SEK. How will you use it, and how far will that take you on the journey to actually getting the gold up from the ground?
Yes, we plan to raise 43.5 million SEK minimum, and the goal is to put roughly half of that in the ground as core drilling, and the other half would go towards early stage work that includes geophysics, geochemistry, but also consulting costs, the listing costs, and overhead.
Yeah. So for those not familiar with this type of business, can you sort of take us briefly through the process from start to finish, from start to making money, essentially?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Often generalist investors have a hard time wrapping their head around, the exploration business, given, the lack of profits and revenues. But indeed, companies can create value throughout the entire mining life cycle, beginning with the first of which is early stage exploration. This involves follow-up drilling on previous mineralized intercepts to help grow a mineralized footprint, or it could also involve follow-up drilling of geophysics or geochemistry anomalies to find a brand new discovery. And typically value is created at this stage as investors begin to estimate sort of what size of resource might be there. For example, they might look at a group of drill holes and they might take the average mineralized intercept multiplied by the average length of the vein, multiplied by the average depth of the vein, multiplied by the grade, for the case of gold, grams per ton, and multiplied by the density of the rock. And that can help give an estimated quantity of resource that might be there in the future. And that potential resource could be applied to a range of market multiples, such as market cap per ounce in the ground, or similarly enterprise value, which corrects the market cap for cash. And that can give, and that's sort of how share price appreciation is achieved at that early stage exploration stage. Moving on. The next stage item is advanced stage exploration, and that involves companies that they already have resources, but they perhaps not enough resource to warrant to demonstrate positive economics. And value is created at that stage, basically by growing resources. And this is primarily where Northgold is positioned. However, we do plan to put maybe up to 20% of our drilling towards early stage targets to try to give exposure to the big upside there. And these enterprise value per ounce, and value is created at this stage basically by growing the resource. And of course, that enterprise value per ounce would be applied to a larger number, which can help the share price increase. And of course, these market multiples are loosely related to the prospects of the likelihood of that gold being extracted or that mineral being extracted someday. The next stage is the development stage. And this is, a point where you've created or expanded your resources enough to demonstrate positive economics through a technical report, whether it be a preliminary economic assessment, pre-feasibility study, or feasibility study. Basically, as you move along there, you get increased accuracy in your cost estimates and increased tighter drill spacing, so you have more confidence that the mineral is actually there in the ground. And at this point, these technical reports basically report a net present value, which is essentially the revenues minus the costs. And the share price for a development company can appreciate as the net present value increases, or as the multiple or discount factor applied to that net present value increases. For example, investors might discount a preliminary economic assessment much more than the final feasibility study, or as permitting milestones are achieved, that discount factor could also improve, which can help the share price increase. And then finally, once the final feasibility study has been obtained and permits are in hand, excuse me, the company can typically raise financing to construct the mine through a combination of debt and equity. And then finally reach the producer stage when the stock can finally be valued in terms of its profits or its year-over-year cash flows.
Yeah. So it's a fairly long and complicated process then. So the last stage, when do you expect to see revenues? Do you have sort of an estimate of that? What's the key milestones for that for you?
Yeah, good question. We want to crawl before we walk and walk before we run, of course. Currently focused on growing our resources, but we do have medium-term and longer-term plans. So we do hope after we reach our 1 million target, if and when we do, we would like to move on to our medium-term goals, which is to advance to a development stage company and begin completing these economic studies or technical reports, as I mentioned, preliminary economic assessment, pre-feasibility, feasibility study, and so on. And we aim to do that in the next 2 or 3 years. And if and when we can report positive economics in these studies, we do hope to advance to a producer, if provided we can find a toll milling arrangement in the belt. And there seems to be some mill capacity in the belt. There's the Laiva mine to the north, which is held by Otso Gold, and there's the Piasami mine, which is sort of approaching the end of its life to the east end of the belt. And if we can make an arrangement to toll mill, we could be in production in 3 or 5 years.
I read the prospectus, and as I understand it, a very small fraction of gold production is done in Europe. Why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's more established mining jurisdictions out there, such as Canada and Australia. These countries have established stock markets with a set of standards that investors have become quite comfortable with, and they have a long history of investment for drilling and growing resources and building mines there. And I'll focus on Finland as an example in Europe here. Finland also has a history of mining, a deep history, but it's been largely state-owned and operated, the mines, and they didn't open their doors up to foreign investment until 1996. So comparatively speaking, Finland is much lesser explored and much underinvested relative to Australia and Canada. And it wasn't really till the last decade or so where foreign investment really took off. While other countries might be more established, we think there's low-hanging fruit in Finland, and Finland is also consistently ranked a top mining jurisdiction by the Fraser Institute, and that's based on its geologic potential, policy perception, infrastructure, and other things.
So last but not least, what about risks and the biggest challenges? I mean, you have the regulatory, not least the gold is underground, you need to find it. Where would you put, from an investor perspective, what are the key risks?
Yeah, as you stated, I would point viewers to the prospectus. We have a comprehensive risk assessment there, but I will highlight two risks that are front and center, in my mind at least. Number one, the geologic and technical risk, of course, which is typical for mining and exploration. You want to be confident that the minerals are there, and you want to be confident in your costs to build the mine and operate the mine. So we intend to mitigate this risk by doing the stepwise studies that I mentioned, preliminary economic assessment, pre-feasibility, feasibility, and as you move along there, you increase the density of your drilling, and you de-risk the project. Important steps along that in the earlier parts are trade-off studies. So you want to look at option A, B, and C of how you're going to do it, and that's an important part of the de-risking process. Another key risk is personnel. It can be hard to find mining talent in Europe. That's one of the reasons I'm here. But I will point out the Middle Osterbothnia belt does have a deep history of base metal mining, which has sort of begin to dry it up in the last decade or so. As I mentioned, the Piasami mine is reaching depletion. So there is some operational talent available that we think we can tap in the region. And in terms of management talent, if I were to get run over by a bus or get poached by another company, that certainly wouldn't be good for Northgold. But to mitigate that risk, I'll point out that I do own 2% of the company going into the IPO, and I intend to stick around to grow the value of that alongside that of shareholders. And I'll also point out I have warrants that are exercisable at various valuation milestones, 100 million euros, 500 million euros, and 1 billion euros. And I intend to stick around to exercise those.
So I really hope you stay away from the buses then.
Yes.
So a bit of practical stuff. You're in the middle of the subscription period now, and it ends on March 7th?
That's correct.
Yeah. And then 24th of March you will start trading on First North.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And 1160 Swedish kronor per share for those who want to sign up.
That's right.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much for being with us today, Mitch.
Thank you, Adam.
And good luck, of course, with the IPO and the gold finding.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Ja, perfect. Så det var allt som vi hade från Trading Direkt IPO idag. Jag vill tacka så mycket för att ni tittade, och frågor, kommentarer, saker ni vill att vi ska ta upp i programmet framöver, skriv i kommentarsfälten. Tack så mycket.